values and their inspiration. They motivate myself, colleagues, everyone around them. Our elementary teacher of the year, 2 years running for the entire district, is Mandy Benedix. She was taught. Okay. She taught at Middle School since 2004. She is passionate about building an inclusive community and has led several anti-bullying initiatives at Rogers. Her other passions include character development and service to the community. Over the past months, Mandy has helped develop the GRID initiative for all Pearland ISD campuses. The goal of this initiative is to help students develop resiliency and perseverance amid life's challenges. Mandy says, having the opportunity to talk with kids every day about topics like the power of words, resiliency, when things get hard, kindness, compassion, has opened my eyes to the tremendous need to educate children's hearts just as much as we educate their minds. We are honored to have our elementary teacher of the year, Mandy Benedix from Rogers Middle School, please share a few words with us this morning.
Dream to have a moment like Kelly Clarkson did when she won the first season of American Idol. It was so good. And she's standing in the middle of the stage and she's singing a moment like this and confetti is falling on her and she's crying. And I tell my students every year that this was my dream, and I tell them American Idol didn't work out for whatever reason. And so I went into teaching because I get a stage every day. I get an audience that has to show up, and if they know what's good for them, they have to like me. That's the thing to it. Imagine my delight this last year when a 5th grader walked into my class, and it was about 3 months into the school year, and I overheard her tell the student next to her, I love coming here because she always makes it like a performance. And I was like, yes, mission accomplished. Support, right? And so today, I have a bigger stage and I have a larger audience, and I'm quite sure confetti will follow me at any moment, but I'm just going to keep rolling. I want to share with you what I have found to be really important in every area of my life, and that's making connections with people. Because connections are the key to relationships, and relationships are the key to everything else that's important in our life. And so, in every area of my life, it is my goal to make an impact and not just an impression. And to do that, we have to connect. So, one of the best ways that I have found to connect with students is that number one, you have to shock them. And not literally. But you have to shock them by giving them what they don't expect. I also really love Big Brother, which is embarrassing to say, but it's ridiculous. And their tagline is expect the unexpected. Well, when our students come into our class, they expect certain things from us. They expect us to talk to them about the subject that we teach. They expect us to give them grades. They expect us to not be funny. They expect us to not know anything about their life outside of school, nor care about it. And so I found that it is very easy to shock students and their parents by simply doing things like talking to them about their weekend, or showing up at a baseball game or a dance recital for only like 10 minutes, or really helping them with things that have nothing to do with the content that I share with them. They expect us to do these things. But when we give them what they don't expect, that's when the connection starts to be made. We have to shock them by showing them that they're more to us than just a test score. But to do that, we have to give them more than information that's in a textbook. The second thing I found that's really helped me connect with people and students in general is we have to show them. My favorite quote is a quote from Gandhi where he says, be the change you want to see in the world. And it's a call to action. He says, be the change. He doesn't say talk about the change. He doesn't say communicate the change. He said, be the change that you want to see. Ralph Waldo Emerson has a quote. He said, who you are speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you're saying. And I love this because isn't this true in a classroom? If a student perceives me as cold and uncaring, it doesn't matter how great the information is that I've prepared to deliver. They're not going to hear a word of it because who I am is too loud for them at that moment. And then I heard this a couple weeks ago, and I just have to share it. If you had a pen, I would say write it down because it's awesome. It says, they said, don't be a thermometer that simply reflects its surroundings, but rather be a thermostat that impacts its surroundings. Science teachers, what a great poster, right? Be a thermostat. The way I see this is when I interact with anyone, I have already decided who I want to be and how I want to be perceived. So there's really nothing that anybody else can do that's going to take me off of that path. So your behavior towards me does not change the way I'm going to act towards you. I don't believe in the idea that I'll respect you if you respect me. I've already determined that I'm going to be a respectful person regardless. So go be a thermostat. Right? The third one is you have to see them. And I think this is key for us as teachers. I think that I know that if you haven't already received the list of data on your students, you will be receiving a whole bunch of data on your kids in the next couple of weeks. And I challenge you that when you look at that number, that you take just a minute to look beyond the number and see the face behind it. See the story, see the life. Because it's important to recognize that for every number attached to a child, and every number attached to us as teachers, there was a journey that got them there. Since they've been born, adults and people have been writing on the slate of who they are. And we are a piece of that. But I want you to not neglect this year to celebrate the journey that you take kids on towards success, even if the end result is not what others would consider successful. My most successful standardized testing moment happened with a student who, by the state standards, did not meet expectations. But what that number did not reflect was every Wednesday that I was at her house helping her, and then having dinner with her and her grandparents after, because they didn't have transportation to pick her up from school. And what that number did not reflect was that she stayed until 5:30. This was the TOS test. She stayed until 5:30 taking that test, where previously she finished in under an hour and turned it in. And what that number did not reflect was that prior to that time, as a fifth grader, she had never made higher than a 20 on any of those tests. And she was one question shy of passing and meeting their standard. But in my eyes, that journey was a successful one because I know what I poured into that child. So I really challenge you this year to focus more on the journey you take with your students, rather than allowing yourself to be valued only by the number they receive at the end of your time together. I also challenge you this year in closing to see what you do every day as a responsibility and not as a job, because you will then approach it differently. Make connections that will change entire generations because you connected to one. Shock kids and parents by doing more than what they would expect. Show kids who you hope for them to be by being that person yourself. And finally, see the stories and the faces behind the data and find your value in the journey and not just in the destination. Thank you so much.